Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio, why do we want a later duck season?
Everybody that came in the tent those 6 days, we asked them about the seasons.
Also new this year.
Seems like there's lots of birds.
Broadcasting on the Sporting Journal Radio Network, wherever you get your podcasts or watch on YouTube.
Fish on right now.
Well, we're here at the 2024 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. And our guest now is Jeremy Smith. I fish, I hunt, and always will.
It's just to look out for your everyday hunter, angler, and trapper that's out there.
A Fish Hunt Forever production. This is Sporting Journal Radio. That's right. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited because hunting season is finally here. I'm pretty jacked about it. Dan, how about you?
It's here. It's time. I don't get as excited about it as you do. I'm excited. It's fun.
It's early. Like, I don't really get excited about it until, probably October, really. But we can hunt doves this weekend on Sunday. We can hunt teal. We can hunt geese. To me, it's way too early for two of those.
All right.
Yeah, it's way too early for two of those. But I'm excited about that. You know what else I'm excited about, Dan?
What's that?
History.
Well, I did it.
Huh?
And then I screwed it up. I'm pretty excited. I've got my own button bar.
Huh?
Ladies and gentlemen.
I love it.
No.
I'm addicted to it.
This is just going to be battle of our button bars.
Yeah.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
I'm so excited.
I don't know what you mean, but
It had the key.
I didn't mean to hit that one.
Oh, I'm not the only one screwed up
No.
on it. Yes.
No.
Yes.
I mean
No.
that I want them.
Heck yeah. I'm excited. Anyway, I've had button bars for a long time in radio, but I have not had one on this show. Dan's had one for a long time, and I finally have my own. I know you're equally as excited about it as I am. Anyway, we got a great show. We're going to talk hunting. We're going to talk about why we want a later duck season. All right. We've talked about it a lot. We've maybe mentioned some of the things, but we want to break it down for you a little bit in this show. We'll explain some things. We'll also talk to Jason Bird from Heavy Hauler Outdoor Gear. He's going to tell the story of how Heavy Hauler got started and how they've gone from one duck strap to a pretty big company offering products in the hunting market, in the fishing market, and more. We also have Joe Henry. He's going to give us a fishing report from Lake of the Woods and talk about just such a great event that's going on up there right now. We'll tell you all about that and more coming up in just a little bit. Don't forget to go to our Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. You can see our new video from Lake of the Woods that we filmed up there with Joe not too long ago. And you can see our video from Guardian Eagle Resort up in Ontario. This is just a great place where you can catch a pile of fish. They have 75,000 acres of private water. You can fly direct from Minneapolis. You can fly direct from Chicago area. You can drive up to Sioux, look out, and fly from there too. They got a concrete runway right at their resort, and then just catch as many walleyes as you want, and even hand feed walleyes at the dock. It's a pretty amazing place. Go to guardianeagle.com for more details. And Dan, who else is bringing you this week's Sporting Journal Radio?
The official truck sponsor of Fish Hunt Forever and Sporting Journal Radio is Inver Grove Toyota. When looking for your new rig, head to Inver Grove Toyota. Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a trip for this open water season or ice fishing at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX Hunt. See private land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the OnX Hunt app today. Tasman Lake Lodge. Catch world record lake trout and giant pike at Saskatchewan's Tasman Lake. Learn more at tasmanlake.com. Devils Lake, North Dakota. Catch it all at Devil's Lake. Prairie Sportsman, the new season is wrapped up. You can watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel or check your TV guide for local air times. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Fish Devil's Lake is stay at Haybale Heights. Learn more at haybeleheights.com. And Guardian Eagle Resort. Come fish the Ontario waters of Guardian Eagle Resort. Fly directly from the Twin Cities. Learn more at guardianeagle.com.
We're going to talk about the AIM tournament and the results of the AIM tournament on Lake of the Woods with Joe Henry coming up a little bit later. But Dan, there was a big old bass tournament on Leech recently.
Bass Open came to Leech Lake. Kind of fun to have a big tournament in Minnesota for a chance for some locals or whoever wants to enter it. Chance at the Bassmaster Classic. And the hometown kid, Easton Fothergill from Grand Rapids, took home the win. He's been having quite the year. I know Jason Barr was on our show a couple weeks, kind of talked about that. Cool story about Easton, and he's going to be going back to the Classic and has a great shot to qualify for the elites. So congrats on getting the hometown win.
Yeah. Wait, we should get him on this show.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. 49 pounds, 13 ounces was his 2-day total there at Leech. And I think that opened up some eyes about how good of smallmouth fishing that lake can be.
Yeah, those of us who've lived up there or have ties up there kind of known about it. Now the secret's going to be out. You know, it was a bass event that kind of opened the eyes to people about the smallmouth fishing on Mille Lacs, and there could be a similar thing. You know, Mille Lacs is a little easier to get to from the Twin Cities, but bass fishing, there's a lot of fishing on Leech Lake that's overlooked by the walleyes. Panfish, really strong, big sunfish, big crappies, great largemouth fishing too. You know, a lot of smallmouth were caught on that tournament. There's great largemouth fishing, great muskie fishing, of course, and the walleyes are sometimes get your teeth kicked in, but a lot of times you can go have a great day of walleye fishing on Leech Lake.
Now, the tournament on Mille Lacs was I think had a bigger.
Well, it was an elite series event. Yeah,
it was big, and you know that maybe had a bigger impact. What do you think? There's going to be any? Have you heard of any like negative discussion about that tournament being on Leech at all?
Leech, no. We heard from someone who was close to that tournament on Mille Lacs, a guy who kind of blamed himself for that tournament even coming to Mille Lacs, that kind of wished that hadn't happened.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like there was a lot of negative publicity around Mille Lacs when that tournament came there, but I haven't heard. Granted, it's not quite as big of a tournament, but I haven't heard as many.
Well, let's rephrase that though. We probably had more boats on this open tournament. But no, I mean, I think they're great things for the community. I mean, Walker's a town of like 900 people, I believe. And granted, in the summertime, there's always going to be way more people in Walker than the average day when the census happens. But then you jam-pack the community with that many extra boats and co-anglers. It's great for the hotels. It's great for the restaurants. You know, I know we've talked about live weigh-ins and whatnot, but there's a lot of buzz in town from the live weigh-in that happened there, that bringing people into town. They're buying beer, they're buying food, they're going to the brewery, they're going to the restaurants. They're putting a lot of gas in their boat. I mean, what did Easton say after day one? I think he had 5 gallons of gas left in his boat. So those boats hold a lot of gas. So maybe he filled up in Grand Rapids at his house, or he filled up in Walker. So, you know, it's things like that. It's events like that are great for those small towns that really bolster economies like that.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a comment on the Bass Open on Leech, what you thought about it, you can comment below here on YouTube or on social media. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget, if you are watching this, we have a watch and win contest going on right now. And if you watch this, which you already are if you're watching this, see what I did there? You could win. Make duck season late again. This t-shirt right here. It's a watch and win contest. All you have to do is go to sportingjournalradio.com, click on the watch and win contest link there, and then it'll have a place where you can watch this YouTube video, just like you may be doing already. Just go back and start it over, put your email address in and start watching it, and you will be entered to win. We're going to give away a bunch of these Make Duck Season Late Again shirts, so sign up at sportingjournalradio.com.
No way!
While you're there, you can also check out the Tundra deal or the Toyota deal that we have with Inver Grove Toyota, where you can save some money on your next Toyota. And maybe you don't want to spend $60,000 to $80,000 on a new truck. Well, you can take a look at the Tacoma. Starting at just $36,195, Tacoma is the #1 selling midsize truck in America, selling more than Colorado and Rangers combined. It's better than ever and all new for 2024. It now tows up to 6,500 pounds and will get you where you need to go for all your hunting and fishing trips. And only for you, our Sporting Journal Radio and Fish Hunt Forever listeners, get $250 off the lowest advertised price and an additional $500 for your trade-in. It's a great deal just for you. Visit invergrovetoyota.com/FHF. Fill out the trade voucher there to save some money on your next Toyota. All right, it's time for headlines, ladies and gentlemen.
Video file can't be found.
During this year's teal season, teal hunters may not hunt within wild rice beds posted open to rice harvest within the boundaries of the White Earth Reservation, or within 1/2 mile of wild rice beds posted open to rice harvest within the boundaries of the Leech Lake Reservation. So if you're going to be hunting teal, around Leech, around Walker. Make sure you're paying attention to where the open rice harvest areas are. Also new this year, you can get your duck stamp on the Minnesota DNR website, and it's good. The electronic, Dan, this is a new change this year. The electronic federal duck stamp is good for the entire season. It used to be good for 45 days. Then you'd have to get your one in the mail, the actual stamp in the mail, sign it, and keep it with you. Now the electronic version will work the entire season.
About time.
You can get it for $29 per stamp on the DNR website. It's required for all hunters age 16 and older. A couple of other changes this year. You don't need an early goose permit anymore.
Really?
I guess not. I guess they eliminated that.
Wow, how did this happen?
It's Dan and Dan.
That's
look at
weird.
that. Okay. So and I already bought mine. So do I get my $5 back? Or
Are we
whatever
sure about this?
Paid for it. That's according to the DNR website. Additionally, beginning this year, an early goose permit is no longer required for goose hunters. So double check on that. I bought mine in the spring, so I don't even know if it's available on the website anymore. Dan, if you haven't bought it, maybe you should try, and we'll find out if it's available or not. All right, the DNR is also seeking applicants for their advisory groups. They're recruiting new members to serve on key advisory groups related to fish and wildlife conservation, promoting knowledge and skills in fishing, hunting, trapping, and related activities, conservation policy and funding, parks and trails, and aquatic invasive species. You can apply on the DNR website. So when a lot of people say the DNR doesn't listen to its citizens, its stakeholders, or how do I get a say in how the DNR manages the resources here in the state, this is one of those ways where you can speak up and be heard and be a part of the decision-making process. So if you want to get more involved with how the DNR manages resources in Minnesota, there is one way for it right here. Most terms begin in 2025 and are for 3 years. Most groups meet 4 to 6 times per year with in-person and online options for joining meetings. There are some exceptions available. So you can find out more about that at the DNR website and join. Also, the DNR is ramping up elk planning and research. They're going to do an in-person meeting on Northwest Elk Management September 10th. To work on developing a legislatively directed plan to enhance the size and range of Minnesota's elk population. There's a 2024 amendment to existing statute that requires the DNR to work with the DNR elk working groups, private landowners, local units of government, work with all these people, the tribes and everything to enhance the size and range of the elk. The legislation also allows one of the 3 elk herds in northwest Minnesota to grow from the 2023 population estimate of 75 elk up to 98. That allows for genetic diversification and herd health. And when those herds grow a little bit and get above population goals, they can take some of those elk for relocation into the Northeast. This meeting is September 10th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Northland Community and Technical College in Thief River Falls. All right, so we got more on the early teal season that we're going to dig into. Plus, we have Joe Henry with the Lake of the Woods Fishing Report, and we're going to talk to Jason Bird from Heavy Hauler to find out how that business got started. It's all coming up on Sporting Journal Radio. And if you're looking for a world-class walleye fishing destination this summer, check out Devil's Lake, North Dakota, where the walleye bite remains strong. Catch it all at Devil's Lake. Visit devilslakend.com to learn more and to plan your next trip to Devil's Lake. Now is the time to start thinking about chasing big walleyes on Devil's Lake. Get on the fish at Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Haybale Heights makes it easy for you to make memories on legendary Devil's Lake with guided fishing and lodging packages. Or bring your own boat and rent one of their cabins on East Bay. Haybale Heights offers a private marina, fish cleaning station, and the opportunity to relax and enjoy your bucket list trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. To book your trip, visit haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com. Video of the week. All right, here's a video for you to watch on YouTube. We watched Heartland Waterfowl the other night, Dan. It was, they do pretty good work out there, but it was a pretty interesting one because it was an August goose hunt in North Dakota.
They should have renamed the show for the week Heartland Golfing and Walleye Fishing.
Or Heartbreak Waterfowl.
Yeah, I think they shot more birdies on the golf course than they shot in the field.
Hey-o!
Good one.
That was great.
Glad you're...
Why am I so quiet with this
Because
thing?
your cable's real noisy when I turn it up.
Dang it. Well, anyway, we'll work on that. But they did shoot some geese, but they also showed just how hard it can be to hunt geese in August. I know the purpose of the August seasons. Minnesota finally got rid of theirs because it just wasn't quite worth it, and they found out that they were killing the same amount of geese in September that they were killing in August anyway, and you didn't have to worry about mosquitoes as much.
You still do.
As much, yeah. And, there aren't a ton of harvested fields out there. A lot of the wheat's coming off, though, so you're starting to see some wheat fields that you can hunt in. But it's pretty tough, so go check that out. And that brings up my point of this being way too early for waterfowl season. I know we've talked about this a lot, but why do we want a later duck season? I'm going to break it down for you right now. First of all, this gives us a better opportunity for mallards. If you like shooting mallards, you're going to have a better chance to shoot them later in the season. I know there's some local birds, and sometimes some groups of them come down a little bit earlier, but you're going to be talking about brown ducks. They're not going to be fattened up, and you're not going to have big groups of them swarming the cornfields, which you see late in the season. Why else do we want a later duck season? Because early season big ducks are harder to identify. Sure, you can check out the silhouettes of the bird. Seasoned veteran waterfowl hunters will be able to identify them. You can identify them by sound, but they're harder to ID. They look like garbage, and they're not as good to eat aside from teal. Obviously, teal are still pretty good, but those early season ducks just don't have much fat. Early season teal, within the federal framework for the Mississippi Flyway, we're allowed 16 days between September 1st and September 30th. So if you want to shoot the best ducks in September, we're talking about teal. You are probably going to have some mistake ducks, some mistake wood ducks, some mistake mallards, but I don't like shooting those ducks in September if I can help it. I will if the season's open. But if you want to shoot the best ducks in September, it's teal. And you could have 16 days of teal season, plus what do we get, 15 days for Canada goose season in September, whatever it is. You'll have plenty of birds to shoot in September between 16 days of teal, the early Canada goose, the youth waterfowl, and everything else. You could have waterfowl hunting for most of September and still open the regular season in October, and that will give us a chance to shoot mallards. This year, we can't even shoot them on Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is usually can be some of the best hunts of the year, and we're not going to be able to do it this year in Minnesota. So if we extended that teal season, or at least opened it up a little bit later in September and opened the regular season in October, everybody wins. Everybody gets a chance to hunt. There should be no complaining about it. And this is a pretty interesting fact that I learned today, Dan, when I was reading about this. The Mississippi Flyway Council recommended that the experimental teal season in Minnesota be extended for a fourth year with no data collection required. Now, at first, that was a red flag for me, like, why aren't they collecting any data? But if you remember, the teal season was a 3-year experiment, and now they're collecting data from the previous 3 years. They don't have all that data collected, so they're just going to let everybody hunt teal again this year while they put all the data together to figure out what happened. How many mistake ducks were killed? How much participation was there? Is it worth it to keep doing this? Should we extend the season? Next year, they should know a lot more information about whether or not the teal season is working and if the hunters of Minnesota actually want it. So it's a 1-year extension this year. It may all change next year for the teal season. So that's why I'm saying if you want to have it, extend it. If the feds are going to give us a chance to do a longer teal season, extend it and then push back the regular season opener. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I've had people come up to me and say, well, you were a big proponent of the teal season. I'm like, I was, because I wanted to see a later duck opener, regular season opener. But what they did is they gave us a teal season and then didn't change the regular season opener. In fact, September 21st this year is one of the earliest I've ever seen it. And to me, it's way too early to open up the regular season. You will also see some increased pressure on these ducks. And local birds do feel the pressure from hunting. So even if those mallards and wood ducks aren't getting shot at, the local ducks during the teal season, and some of them definitely are, but even if they're not getting shot at, they're hearing the gunshots, they're getting pushed around. They may not leave the area right away. They might go to a slough a couple miles away. I shot a mallard about 2 or 3 weeks after opening day a couple years back that had a backpack on it. The backpack research showed that opening weekend, it didn't get shot, but there was enough hunting pressure around it that it flew 7 miles away and spent, I think, a week or two 7 miles away at a different slough. So for the people out there saying that hunting a teal season early doesn't affect your opening day, some places it may not. But depending on when it is, that pressure may push that bird 7 to 10 miles away to a different pond or water body, and it may stay there, and it might go south. Mallards have been known to fly 400 miles in a day, or if not more. That hunting pressure can have an effect on your opening day success. The hunting pressure during the teal season could have an effect. And once you push all those local birds out, you got to sit and wait until something pushes the northern birds down. Once the migrators get here and start pulling through, then you've got some regular hunting opportunities. But there's always a lull. Where we're at in the central zone, there's always a lull after the local birds get pushed out until maybe about the middle of October. About a third into October to a middle of October, then you start to see migrators, and obviously that varies depending on the year. And then there's a trickle through the back half of October to when the beginning of November, when things really start to ramp up, and then you can have some really good days. Usually that second and third week in November is, in my experience, when it gets really good here in the central zone in western Minnesota. So this year, we may not even have the opportunity to shoot some of them. I mean, how many times, Dan, have we been out there goose hunting? Because you can goose hunt until, Christmas or past Christmas, whatever. When we see mallards circling our honker spreads, and we can't do anything about it.
Every time.
Yeah, every time. In 2017, the Minnesota DNR surveyed hunters. The largest proportion of respondents selected an area of the state where season dates were the most important to them was the central region. So I'm not the only one that feels this way. The north didn't mind quite as much. The southern zone didn't mind quite as much. Like the north, I think they don't mind opening up a little bit earlier sometimes because of things freeze earlier up there. Although I've had a few people tell me that like Leech, Lake of the Woods, some of the bigger bodies of water are still open late in the season full of ducks, and they can't do anything about it. So you still have some guys in the north that would like a later start and a later close. Study participants were asked to select between a straight season, split seasons, or had no preference. The north preferred a straight season. So that was 58% of respondents wanted just straight season in the north. The south wanted a split, which I think is pretty interesting since they used to have a longer split for the south, and they got rid of the longer split for the south and just went with 5 days, same as a central, which I don't think anybody's super happy about. Study participants were asked to select a preferred season opening date. Statewide, respondents were fairly evenly split, with 39% favoring the Saturday nearest September 24th and 41% favoring the Saturday nearest October 1st, with 20% not having a preference. So there is actually a higher percentage preferring the later start, with a close number preferring the earlier one, but it was higher to go later. And September 24th, I think when you ask that question, I don't think people think you're going to open September 21st, even if you selected the Saturday closest to the 24th. That's just so early. Increased proportions of respondents from the central and north regions preferred the earlier opening date, while increased proportions of respondents from the metropolitan south regions preferred the later opening date, which is no surprise, Dan. It's hard to please everybody and try to do a blanket for everybody in the state of Minnesota.
Well, if everyone just, quit having dumb opinions, then we could just be all on the same page, get it right. But, people got to be opinion.
That's why we're pushing for a late duck season, so we have a better chance of those fat mallards in November, and we don't get a chance at them if we open September 21st. So make duck season late again, and if you're watching this, you have a chance to win one of these shirts right now at sportingjournalradio.com, or you can buy one for $20.
I love it.
Pretty cheap. And did you know, Dan, I learned this. You can hunt in the Virgin Islands.
Say what?
You can hunt doves and pigeons. They have a dove and pigeon season, and your limit is 10 Zaneta doves.
What's that?
Also known as a mountain dove, a bridled quail dove, also known as a Barbary dove or partridge. The common ground dove, also known as a stone dove, tobacco dove, Rolla tortolita, scaly napped pigeon, also known as red-necked or scaled pigeon.
Hang on. So How many different birds
I
are there?
have no
'Cause,
idea.
Was it just one dove and one pigeon that has 8,000 names, or was it 8,000? I got really confused.
Yeah, I did too. But anyway, that's the Virgin Islands. We're never going to go there. So
How do you know? Now I want to go.
All right, we got Joe Henry coming up with the Lake of the Woods fishing report, and Jason Bird from Heavy Hauler is going to tell us the Heavy Hauler story and talk about what products are new coming up on Sporting Journal Radio.
Doesn't he have a code he wants to give us?
Oh, yeah, you can save money, too. I totally forgot about this. We should put this at the front of the show, too. But if you go to Heavy Hauler's website, heavyhauleroutdoorgear.com, you can save 20% on all their products, all their regularly priced products, right now using the code CAB20 at checkout, CAB20 at checkout. Save 20% on Heavy Hauler at heavyhauleroutdoorgear.com.
Hunting season will be here before you know it, and it's time to get ready for your next adventure with the OnX Hunt app. Whether you're traveling in search of roosters, elk, waterfowl, or looking to score on a whitetail close to home, OnX Hunt can help you be more successful this season. Route, plan, and navigate with private and public land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the Hunt app on the App Store or Google Play and join the millions of hunters that trust OnX Hunt.
All right, this is Sporting Journal Radio. I'm Bret Amundsen. That's Dan Amundsen. And Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism joins us right now on the show. Joe, I'm really excited for a couple of reasons. Not just because our video with you came out on YouTube and then you told me it put you to sleep. That was
I didn't say that.
That's exactly what you said.
No, what I did say is, I was mic'd up that whole time, and I went family and friends, so I'm making goofy little comments and such, like you do with family and friends. I'm like, oh, I made it on the show. Oofda.
No, it was good, and that I'm excited about. But also, I finally have.
You know how long I've been waiting for this?
Oh, the volume's not loud enough. I have my own button bars.
You know how long I've been waiting for this?
So I can make.
Hey, come here. Look at me. Hey, look at me. What'd I say? No.
I may be the only one excited about it.
I'm just excited that I can still have the ultimate power to turn it off.
You can turn it off, yeah.
So.
It's been 84 years.
It's been a long time since I've
there
had
went.
one.
It's gone. That lasted
turned it off.
all of a couple of seconds.
Dang it. Joe, we had a great time up there with you, of course, fishing out of a charter boat, and we showed people a technique to catch fish up there. We showed people why sometimes it's good to be on a charter boat like that and how easy it can be for people that want to come up and fish Lake of the Woods. It was maybe a little bit breezy out there, and that made it even better to be on one of those big boats like that. But, man, I knew we caught a lot of fish, and I remember catching a lot of fish, but watching the video again, it was crazy how many fish we ended up catching, Joe.
I tell you, we caught a lot of fish, and we fished a few different spots. We caught a lot of fish, and I just think it's kind of neat too how we were fishing with people who don't fish that often, and they were yanking them in. And we lost some big fish. We caught a couple of nice fish, bigger fish, and man, we have eaters. And then we had the small ones, and we had some jumbo perch, and we got I think a 29-inch pike. And I mean, it was just really a fun couple of days of fishing, and it's true Lake of the Woods style. Our fishery this summer has been really, really, really good. And, you guys, I spoke to a charter boat captain today who, that they got their limit for the charter boat before noon. And, I mean, the fish has been that good. So, yeah, our trip was fun, and we had a lot of laughter on the boat, a lot of good jokes and such. And I think we had some good food. We had a couple good beers at the end of the day, and it was just a good traditional fishing trip on a Lake of the Woods charter boat.
And you can watch that video on the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. And Joe, that Warrior Boat Tournament was that same weekend. They had some really big fish that were caught in that tournament. And then the AIM tournament was this weekend. And then you're also up there filming another TV show, and everybody's catching big fish again this weekend. Yeah,
it's amazing. So first off, with the David A. Anderson Memorial for Warrior Boats, and then the AIM Pro Walleye Minnesota State Championship was up here. Both groups of anglers, the winning bags were over a 10-pound average for walleye. That's incredible. Insane. And just kudos to all those anglers. They're so dialed in on some of that new technology and such, and really quite incredible. Right now, we have our 11th annual Pay It Forward Veterans event up at Lake of the Woods. And I was on the water yesterday, and, we always try to film a show with our veterans. And it just so happened that I had a grandfather, a son, and a grandson, all veterans, on our boat. So it made for quite a neat story. And boy, we caught fish. I mean, we caught so many darn fish, and we're letting some smaller walleyes, which we could have kept. We're letting them go and just kind of being picky, and we did real well. We have some of our veterans that have. We have a little fishing contest for a paid-forward event for the top 3 walleyes and the top pike. And, geez, I think we got so far, and the tournament's not over. We got a whole half a day to go yet, but we got a 27 3/4. We got a 27 1/2. I mean, we got some big fish coming in, too, and everybody's filling the coolers up nicely. Just really a neat event, Bret.
Oh, I mean, fishing, I think, is just a bonus, and those guys know it. I know those guys love to fish too, but it's just another example of the veterans being able to get around other veterans, so they have people that they can talk to with similar experiences.
That's the magic. We say every year there's magic, but I'll tell you something. We had we kind of let veterans come up if they wanted to say a few words last night after dinner, and we had some testimonials of some veterans that they were talking from the heart to other veterans about some of the experiences they've been through and what they had to go through to heal. And you know what? It's just really a wonderful event. I would mention to your listeners, Bret, if anybody wants to, if you are a veteran and would love to come up on that paid-forward, fishing trip, or if you know of a veteran who might really enjoy something like that, our website for that is Pay It Forward, LOW for Lake of the Woods, payitforwardlow.org. And you know what? There's an application on there. Everything is there that you need. And I would just say that, hey, if you're interested in coming next year, usually we have it in August, the week before Labor Day. Get an application in, and maybe you want to apply with a friend or two or a relative or two, and drive on up and attend the event. It's all through the generosity of resorts, companies, individuals. It's a 3-night, 2-day fishing trip on charter boats. It's all paid for the veterans, and they don't have to pay a thing. All they got to do is get themselves here and home, and all they got to do is buy their own drinks.
That's amazing. That's really cool, and thank you to all the people that are involved with that. I'm sure there's a lot of volunteers. There's probably a lot of resorts and sponsors and brands and people helping out. So it's amazing work. And Joe, you said you had 3 generations of veterans on the boat with you?
We did, yeah. We had ultimately a grandfather who was a Vietnam vet, and then we had his son who, is a veteran, and then we had his son, which is of course a grandson, and so 3. And they hadn't fished together in 9 years because they're just busy. They're busy people. One was just got out of the military, the younger one did, and Dakota did, and but really a neat story. You see these. The tradition of a military family, and these people working hard in the military, all had different roles. Dakota, the younger one, I mean, he would jump out of planes, and he was explaining to us how when you jump out of a plane, you're jumping from a lower altitude, and you have a parachute that it's not like when you jump out of a plane and you're enjoying the view and you're floating down. These parachutes are intentionally smaller. So you're traveling at about 17 miles an hour. You want to get down to the ground quick so you don't get shot. If you're hanging up there, you're a sitting duck. So you want to get down quick, but with that, there's a lot of injuries when you hit the ground and such. And he was just kind of explaining all that. And, that and the many other stories veterans were sharing. I had an opportunity to have a discussion with a Purple Heart veteran from Vietnam, and he was a tunnel rat. And you can imagine some of the stories he had. And he was also a sharpshooter. And I mean, I talked to another gentleman he was in a small submarine, and a Russian sub was trying to pick him off. So they were down in 500 feet, I believe it was 500 feet of water, and they had to go sit on the bottom of the ocean so that Russian sub's sonar pinging couldn't pick them up.
My gosh.
You're right down on the bottom. They can't tell if you're a submarine or what you are. But the point of it is they were down there on the bottom for 15 days with silence before they got up and left out of that area. But I mean, just the story. Everybody has a story, and then there's veterans too that never went overseas. It wasn't the time for them to go overseas, and they're as valuable as anybody is. You don't have to go overseas to feel appreciated or valued, I guess, as a veteran. And I have some veterans say to me, I didn't go, I didn't see wartime, I wasn't overseas. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're appreciative of all of our veterans.
You know, it's we've filmed a number of those events, and we filmed one last year down here in western Minnesota. And a couple of the guys that we filmed with, Dan and I, we actually saw them. They were part of the Warrior tournament when we were up there, 2 weeks ago now, I guess, or whatever it was. So it was kind of neat to see them and reconnect with them, and some of the stories that they share. Just amazing, just amazing strength to go through some of those situations from those veterans. I can't thank them enough. Joe, we should talk about conditions right now and how people are.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to say, when somebody makes a statement that freedom isn't free, well, it really isn't. I mean, imagine one of the guys on my boat, he got blown up with a grenade. So he has a lifelong leg injury that he has to live with, and he also has to live with the shrapnel in his skull. Well, would you ever know that you're sitting next to somebody who has those kind of wounds and those kind of memories for the rest of their life in order to protect the United States of America? You think of the tunnel right, you think of the person in the sub. I mean, freedom isn't free, and I really think that it's refreshing for all of us to take a deep breath once in a while and just to think about what some of our military men and women have had to go through to protect our nation. It's still going on, and we are very appreciative. The purpose of Pay It Forward is to honor, recognize, and celebrate all veterans. And there's a lot of wonderful veterans events out there. Every one of them is important, and we're certainly one of them.
Well, real quick, why don't you give us a website for Pay It Forward again, Joe?
Yeah, it's payitforward, LOW.org.
All right, very good. And then if people want to get a trip up to Lake of the Woods, were you guys pulling spinners again?
Yep, we were pulling spinners, but a lot of other boats are pulling cranks, right now. And then there's even a number of boats talking about how they're still jigging, and they think they might be able to keep this jigging bite going all the way into the fall. So it's happening all three ways.
That's so much fun. All right, if people want to get a trip planned to Lake of the Woods yet before fall or during fall or start thinking about winter, what should they do, Joe?
Hey, check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
All right, Jason Bird from Heavy Hauler is coming up next. If you want to catch a big walleye, go where the big walleyes are. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world, with a variety of resorts and lodging facilities offering full-service fishing. Lake of the Woods is also home to sturgeon, sauger, perch, trophy pike, muskie, smallmouth bass, burbot, and more. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods today. Go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com. All right, this is Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for tuning in on the network. By demand, sportingjournalradio.com, or watching this on YouTube. Don't forget, we can watch and win. And this week, we're giving away this Make Duck Season Late Again T-shirt for those of us.
Is it a crop top?
Sorry. There you go. There's the whole thing. Make Duck Season. We could make some female versions, I guess.
Sure.
Some lady shirts. Make duck season late again. We think it opens up too early. We like some of those late season hunting opportunities. All you have to do is go to sportingjournalradio.com, click on the Watch and Win contest link right there, put your email in, and then watch this show, and you'll have a chance to win. We're going to give away a bunch of those shirts this week, so go there for your chance to win. All right, we're going to talk about waterfowl gear and fishing gear and hunting gear and all kinds of stuff from the Heavy Hauler Outdoor Gear Company. They got blinds, decoys, fishing gear, and more, but it all started out over 20 years ago with a lanyard. Jason Bird joins us on the show to tell the story of Heavy Hauler and to talk about what new products are on the horizon. Jason, thanks for giving us some time this week.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to tell a little bit of this story anyways.
Sure. So looking back, because that's what it started with, a lanyard, right? Looking back on that.
It started with the first product I ever made was a leather duck strap. My best friend's dad wanted something to haul geese with, and I was in the leather business at the time. So I made I still sell the product. It's the original leather game carrier. I made some for his dad. Leather straps and whatnot. First thing Dan did was cut all the leather straps off and put orange twine on them because that seemed to work better for him. But that was the first product I made. That was the first one that I made.
First product that you made, and also the first product that had some changes, some engineering design changes, apparently.
Yeah, that's the product right there. And all those nice straps I put on there, Dan just cut them off and put the orange bale and twine on them. He's probably still got it today, but yeah, that was the first one that I took into a retail store. I had that and then some leather shotgun shell belts. That was in probably 98 or 99. I just walked into a Shields store and asked them if they thought they could sell them, and they asked me a myriad of questions on things I knew nothing about, but we got the ball rolling then. But the lanyard was the first thing, just some dog whistle lanyards is what I introduced when I was working for a retailer in South Dakota, and they put them in the stores. And then 3-4 years later, the corporate guy looked at them and put them all their stores, and then moved into some simple braided lanyards. It was really fortunate timing for me because there was a lot of stores, well, that one in particular, just had real basic, kind of the old shoelace kind that had just loops on them. So there wasn't really anything that was really, really nice. So it was good timing for me. That's how it got started.
All right. Well, I want to ask you a little bit more about all of that, but let's just go back to the beginning. When you made that first strap, did you ever think, after making that one, did you ever think you'd get to the point of having this big company where you are today?
No, it was a spoof. I mean, it was just, I just was trying to make a little extra money. And, after Dan had me make that had me make it for him, I had no concept on a company. I didn't have a product name. I didn't have a company name. He had an old truck that we hunted out of, and then he had a old white furniture truck that we would load up with snow goose decoys in the fall and in the spring, and we call it the hauler. So that leather game strap was called the original heavy hauler. So I made tags and everything just on my computer, and so Shields needed a company name to put in their system. Well, I didn't have anything, so the best I could come up with was the longest email address in the universe, and that was a Heavy Hauler Outdoor Gear. So that's where that all came from. Looking back, I certainly would have chosen something shorter, but I put some time into it. But no idea this was going to happen.
At what point did the light bulb go off and you said to yourself, I could make a living doing this?
I was probably, I was working for Cabela's and they were selling them. And I had some opportunities with competing retail stores. I had a good job there, but I just thought I would take the leap. I had enough money in my bank account to get some inventory made. And so I wrote a resignation letter and left on good terms. And they became my first big box account. And then within 3 years, I was fortunate enough to be doing business with every major outdoor retailer. And I think I just had 5 SKUs was it. That was back in a time when a retailer would pick up an account that had limited SKUs. That's really not the case now, but it was probably just 3 years into it that it was, I wasn't out to be a millionaire. I just wanted to have a comfortable, an easy job, make a comfortable living, and be able to hunt and fish and do what I wanted when I wanted. And I was happy with what it was making, and so I decided, let's just do it.
To me, I think that's the ultimate. I mean, it'd be great to make millions of dollars, don't get me wrong, but I feel like anybody that I've met that makes that kind of money doesn't have time to hunt or fish most of the time. So, doing something that's successful and still gives you the freedom to live the kind of life that you want, to me, is the ultimate. And you're not out there just trying to earn a buck. So when you started those 5 SKUs, what were the 5 products with those first 5 SKUs?
Well, they were really just 2 items, but they were in different colors. It was just a braided whistle lanyard with 2 clips at the bottom. They were braided. The color format was kind of to match the Columbia upland clothing. And then it was orange and tan, orange and black, solid orange. And then I had a couple duck call lanyards that were in just 2 different colors. So it was maybe 7 SKUs. So that's really what they were. They were just, and I've got all kinds of pictures when I started. Everything scattered all over the kitchen floor, plastic bags, or tagging and bagging and stiffing, But that's where most little companies start. I guess if you don't start that way, you're not a little company. If you're starting in a warehouse or in a big facility, you're probably not a little company. Or maybe that's just a subjective term. But looking back, it was fun. If I could go back and have that job that I resigned from and they were to tell me, in 25 years you're going to be making 10 million a year, I wouldn't do anything different, because the one thing that I've learned, and I'm sure most people have, is all the money in the world can't buy me time.
Right.
It doesn't allow me to have time with my kid. It doesn't allow me to do things with family and friends, and you can't take it with you. So what good's that money?
So you started off making these yourself, making these products yourself. Like, do you still, I mean, how many people are making some of these products for you now?
Well, I started importing probably 10 years ago, so I've made a number of trips over to Asia. I've got sourcing in 4 different countries, should I need them. So it's just been a little bit of travel, and then I still create my prototypes. I've got several sewing machines and an abundance of fabric and material. So when it comes to something new, I'll sit down and draw it out on paper. I'm not real good with the computerized stuff with 3-dimensional things. So I'm still good with a big sheet of paper and a straight edge and a pencil. So I'll draw stuff out, start cutting up fabric, and then create the first round, and maybe 3-4 rounds later, I've got what I'm going to go to market with. How did that process go to start looking into an overseas, suppliers like that, or sources? I mean, that had to be kind of intimidating to expand to the point where you needed to reach out to somebody outside of, not just outside of your state, but outside the country. Yeah, that was, and I was fortunate enough that I knew some of the people at Pentax Optics very well when they still were selling a lot of optics in the outdoor space. And one of them knew a gentleman in Taiwan that he knew well, and he just introduced me with an email to Fred. That week I sent him that this is a guy in Taiwan. His name's Fred, so you figure that out. But he became one of my best friends, and he passed away some years back, but he was probably one of the nicest people I've met in my entire life. But I sent him my existing products, which was just probably 5 lanyards. And a week later, I had finished prototypes and I had pricing, and it basically came down to I couldn't, like so many products, I just couldn't manufacture them domestically and be competitive at the volume that I needed to sell. And I couldn't keep up with the packaging either. So it actually worked very easy for me. It was just, I knew somebody, made a phone call or passed on an email, sent some samples, and boom, it was off. And I remember the first time I got my big shipment. My first big shipment was probably 3 pallets. And then I've got photos. 4 years later, there's my next big shipment. That's 11 pallets, and then now it's containers. So it's baby steps, but it's gotten to where it is. Yeah, and this all started late 80s, did you say, or late 90s? Or when did this all start? Probably in 1998. 98. So, for those of you out there trying to consider starting your own business, understand that it does take time to build, but it is possible to build it and do it. And that's pretty amazing to be able to grow. And did you start this in South Dakota then? Yep, I was living in South Dakota when I started it. I was in Minnesota when I visited Shields. I guess I was in Minnesota when I first sold that stuff to Shields, and then I ended up moving to South Dakota, and that's where things really got legs. And then off it went. Yeah. But I've just been, there's people that have asked me over the years advice and pointers and this and that. There's one of the common phrases that I hear is, get used to hearing no, which you do hear no a lot, way more than you'll ever hear yes. But I don't believe that you should get used to hearing no. If you're going to run your own company and try and make your own living with something like that, if you're getting used to hearing no, then I think you probably should just do something else, because if you're hearing it a lot, something might be wrong. Yeah, you got to be persistent. Jason, I want to have you finish that answer right on the other side of the break. For the radio network, we got to go to the podcast. So if you want to keep listening to this interview, go to sportingjournalradio.com, download the podcast in your favorite podcast provider, or watch this on YouTube. More with Jason Bird from Heavy Hauler Outdoor Gear. Finish that thought about hearing no, Jason. Well, I just suggest that if you're on your own, you've got to dig down and find a little bit of persistence that you may not have had or didn't know that you had, because no one's going to care. There isn't a buyer that I've ever met in 25 years that's really interested in how much money I'm making. You know, if I'm sitting down and I'm working on a container load of product for someone, they don't ever say, well, we want to make sure you're making money on this too. I've never had that. So,
right.
You know, and all I've ever asked people for is an opportunity to show them my stuff. You know, if they say no, that's all I can get as an opportunity. But that doesn't keep me from going on to the next guy, because statistically, I guess one should just stand up from the table and shake the guy's hand and say, I appreciate the opportunity, because statistically every no puts you one step closer to a yes. So when the guy does say no, he's helping you to some degree.
Yeah. Well, you know, and it helps you get over some of that adversity. And once you deal with some of the negativity and you end up getting some positivity out of it, you can learn to withstand some of those no's, because you know that there's probably going to be a yes around the corner somewhere. And you mentioned earlier about, you know, having 5 or 7 SKUs, and that's not possible these days. And it seems like in the outdoor space, or honestly, it seems like everywhere these days in business, you see conglomerates, or you see companies that have a lot of different verticals, or you know, products in a lot of different spaces, or a lot of different SKUs. When you say you need to have more, like, what does that look like these days?
Boy, I wish I had a good answer, because buyers don't even tell me. I mean, anymore, I just share, well, it's just the line's not big enough. I'm looking at fishing right now with you know, that's limited to some people. You know, a mom and pop shop, they'll still look at a couple SKUs, but I think it looks to be a couple dozen or more. And with the conglomerates buying up multiple brands, it becomes as easy as you and I going to Walmart to get bread, milk, socks, underwear, and a new basketball. You know, everything's there, and that's really what people seem to want. And it's easy. I mean, I'm the same way. If I can get everything in one place, I'll do that. But it's still good to shop around. What I miss from the retail aspect is that there used to be a time and a place when retailers were looking for the next best thing. They didn't want the same thing that everybody else has. They wanted new and different, and that's not quite the case anymore. They're looking more for, you know, what everybody else has. They have to have it as well, and so that's a bummer.
Is that part of the reason why you expanded into the fishing side of things, or was that just a natural progression?
Well, that wasn't anything I was really looking after, but I fish more than I hunt, and that's where product development comes for me, is just doing stuff. You know, there's a lack of efficiency with something, or something's missing, and oftentimes what works for me works for other people. Yeah, so that's a good thing. But I spend so much time fishing, and I've got some good friends that fish, and a buddy of mine just called me into his garage one day to show me something, and he had made this crazy little tackle box out of plywood. And I'm like, wow, that's, in all these years, I've never seen a really good product. And within 3 weeks, we had a ready-to-market prototype, and away we went. So it wasn't anything I was looking to expand in, but kind of stumbled into it. And now that I'm in it, I'm trying to expand new and different. It's tough. You know, fishing is so vast, and there's so many like products, so it's really difficult to develop something new, but I'm doing my darndest to do that.
What was the tackle box idea?
Well, it's he had just come up with something to utilize wasted space. And if you've got a boat that's got pedestal seats in it, you know, the most wasted space is right under your butt in the seat that you're on. And most newer model boats, your seats just pop right off. And then that tackle bag has got a hole in it. It's not just, it doesn't have to be used in a boat. It's just a really great tackle bag, but it allows you to put storage underneath your seat. It allows me to jump out of my boat, jump into Bret's boat. I can put my tackle bag under the seat, and it's not in anybody's way. So that was the idea.
Okay, I thought that was a great idea, and I saw Jay Siemens talking about it, and then of course I've seen it around. And when I met you in Chicago, actually, I saw it there too. And I think, Dan, didn't you actually buy some of those?
Yeah, I got one for my dad for Christmas because he's terrible at tackle management. He's not terrible. He listens to the show. I shouldn't say that, but he could really use a little bit of help.
Guess what you're getting for Christmas now, Dad?
That'd be
Nothing.
Great. I'll just get one for myself. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you bought one. I thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
It was Tom Mongan's a friend of mine. He had that original idea, and then I took it home and sat down at the sewing machine, and we made 3 or 4 different versions of it. It went from being a hard side to a soft side bag, and it's been doing really well. It's got some new things cooking with some boat companies, and that's exciting for me.
So it was originally hard-sided.
Yeah, I think he used what was in his garage. He had a concept, he had an idea, and the only material he had was wood because he's a woodworking fanatic. He's pretty handy with that stuff. So he just had some real thin plywood and made it work. And then once I saw it, I thought, wow, that's great, but we can't ship wooden boxes and save money.
Sure. Well, and I'm sure that added a lot of weight maybe not a ton of weight for a boat, but that's adding a little bit extra weight, and the soft side is probably just a better option overall.
Yeah, manufacturing wise, it's much more doable.
That's interesting. And then so I met you at the All Canada show in Chicago, if I remember correctly, and part of it, when I'm there working, like I was working the Tasman Lake Lodge booth, and a lot of times when I'm at these sports shows, half the time I'm working the booth, and as you know how it is, you don't always get much time to walk around and talk to other people and see other booths, unless they're the booth next to you. Then you spend a lot of time during the slow periods talking to those guys, of course. I think Barry Prawl from Tasman came back to the booth with this waterproof backpack, and it had the Lindner's angling edge name on it.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, where did you get that? And then he was telling me that you had a booth over there, so I had to come over and talk to you and check things out. And so when did you guys decide to make that waterproof backpack?
Well, that probably 4 years ago, maybe. I didn't know Al at all. I made a call up there to Lindner's. I just had an idea that I wanted to present. And I know some of the guys that work there, presented it to them. They said, yeah, come on up and let's take a look at it. And we had some good opportunities with some retailers. And during the whole process of creating the bag, we got something that was very well made. Pricing was right. And then the whole COVID thing hit, which caused problems with transportation, and international shipping rates went through the roof. Things changed with some of the relationships with the retail stores. Those buyers went away. So the initial slam dunk kind of disappeared, and we lost that. But we've got them in some retail stores and selling them online. And I was just at Game Fair the last first couple of weeks in August, and they sold up there like I just invented a backpack. So that was pretty refreshing to see that. But it's like many people my age, that the Lindner name means something. I admired those guys, and it was so fun for me to get to meet them, and to spend a little time with them. But that's where that was just a phone call. That's just how the majority of my business has happened, is just picking up the phone and calling somebody and hoping it's the right guy.
Well, waterproof backpacks, like having a dry bag, particularly for waterfowlers, is nice, or anglers. If you have, like I've always got a dry bag in the boat. You don't see a lot with zippers a lot of times, so being able to close something up and seal something up is kind of nice. And it looks like you've actually got a pretty smoking deal on those backpacks on your website right now.
Yeah, that is the $2 million in the warehouse deal. I wish I could sell them for what they were MSRP'd at, but it's just not. I mean, I can, but I might be 85 by the time we're through them all. But the supply is starting to dwindle now, so it's getting to a manageable figure, and I'm happy with where we're at.
Well, if any of those guys that didn't get them at Game Fair that want to get them, heavyhauleroutdoorgear.com is the website, and you can find a really good deal on it looks like 2 sizes on those backpacks. Is that right? Yeah,
that the big bag will hold, I think, 3 spinners, like the Lucky Ducks. I think you can get 3 of them in that big bag. I know a lot of guys like them for that reason, but I use the big one for waterfowl hunting, and then I use a zipper bag in my boat that's got my rain gear in it, because nothing in a boat's really waterproof, or compartments or whatnot.
And it just makes sense that you have a trolling motor transmitter lanyard. You got a lanyard for the trolling motor remote.
Yeah, that I've got a prototype. I actually presented to Minn Kota this spring, and they've been looking at that, and we're not sure where that's going to go, but I see too many guys on television that have them sitting on the gunnel of the boat, and I just wait for them to get knocked in the water. I've not seen it yet, but I use mine a lot, and that the neoprene neck strap distributes weight, and those remotes aren't heavy, but when you wear something around your neck for 8 hours, just like a duck call lanyard, it's it's there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I see you got some shirts too, some sun shirts, fishing shirts, and you're selling some catch and cook for Jay there, it looks like, too.
Yeah, Jay has that. We worked out something on that, and initially he was going to send some samples just for me to try out, but someone at the distribution center mistook 4 bags for 4 cases, and then I ended up with a whole bunch of catch and cook, and so I just bought it off them and have been selling it, and I really like it. It's good stuff.
Oh yeah, and just a solid guy in the industry. Most people in the outdoor industry are pretty solid guys, but there's a few out there that are doing it the wrong way. And Jay is, from any interactions I've had with him or anything I've seen him do, he's just a great guy doing it the right way out there.
Yeah, I feel the same. He's got a little boy now, and I think they've got another one on the way, and that's going to change everything for him because priorities are different. And yeah, they just look like a great couple, and you're right. I think he's doing it right, because like you said, you smell the guy that's doing it wrong, and it's not too hard after you've met a few to know when one's coming.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what do you got coming up in the future here? Anything on the horizon that you want to talk about at all?
Well, I don't, nothing really revolutionary, just working on some branded products that will help go with the fishing line. A lot of it is what I call Me Too stuff. I hate to have Me Too stuff, but it's, like I said, it's difficult to find something that isn't similar to what exists. But I'm just trying to get some things that can be sourced for my brand that go hand in hand with the tackle bags. And that might allow me to develop some more products. I've developed a lot of products for other box stores and other brands in the outdoor industry. And just being able to get that stuff at a reasonable price allows me to do that. So trying to...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
Just baby steps, just a little bit at a time. I'm not going to dive into 100 different fishing items and 10 of them sell and 90 of them collect dust.
Yeah. This is a bad comparable, but I've got a store that I sell, hoodies and hats and T-shirts and things like that, and it's just an online print-on-demand store on our website. And boy, when I started it, I designed all these different shirts and hats. I'm like, this is so cool. Somebody can get this version, or a little tweak with this version, or a bow hunting version, or this and that. And now it's like, how can I pare this down to just the very best ones that are going to be the most popular? Thankfully I don't have boxes of them, but still, it's like there's too many. You can almost have too many choices out there sometimes.
It's painful when you have to do that, because there's some things that we really believe in, and when we design them or come up with them, you totally love it. And if you don't love it, you're probably not going to have success in selling it. But yeah, sometimes it's really hard to find enough people that really love your idea to make it work. And when they don't, we've got boxes of T-shirts, and then they get to be promo items that you get one free with whatever. That's a tough pill sometimes.
The way it works. And I didn't realize how many decoys you had too. I'm seeing mallard decoys and Canada goose decoys and snow decoys, all kinds of different mayhem decoys here, field decoys.
Do your homework, man. Do your homework.
Well, I did.
If you don't have mayhem decoys at this point, you just as well sell everything. Get rid of your gun. Don't call yourself a duck hunter. I mean, and if you can't kill birds over my decoys, you need to move to Florida or wherever.
That's funny. Well, I do need some new floater decoys, so I might have spent a little time on your website here. But
yeah, the full bodies are doing real well. That big honker decoy, because we've got a mold and a carving that's as solid as anything out there that costs 3 times that amount of money, and guys are switching to lighter, more compact spreads now. You know, that big honker goose is a 6-pack of those weighs 9 pounds, so it's easy to pack in and out, and they don't take up as much space. I mean, you can fill a trailer load, you know, with 20 dozen of them, and it might weigh 300 pounds. It's, you know, so. Well, and cost is a factor. Cost is a big factor.
That new EVA material, or that new body, that's really kind of revolutionized decoys a little bit, I think.
Yeah, they started using EVA quite some time ago. That's pretty much what every decoy is made out of now. Previous to that was just what they call ping plastic. That's the hard decoys that we had in the, you know, late 90s, you know, that you threw them real hard and they'd crack or break, you know, and then they switched to this softer EVA, and that's minor EVA, but we're using less material, so that makes them lighter, makes them more inexpensive. They're compacted in the box, so they're cheaper to ship, and it's just a way to allow me to offer something that's more affordable to young guys that are trying to get started, and even older guys that just want to replenish a spread or add more to it. It's just affordability. That was one of those issues for me, that the efficiency for me was lack of money, and the easiest way to solve that is to either get more money or buy things that are more affordable. And so I'm just trying to offer some things that are more affordable.
Well, you got a lot of dog products as well, from dog blinds to, you know, dog collars and leads, and, you know, collar remote lanyards and things like that. So quite a bit of product offerings on the Heavy Hauler website. You know, and this is the time to kind of think about fall and looking ahead to this upcoming hunting season. How do you think things are looking out there?
Well, all I heard when I was at a game fair was the disappointment in what your guys' seasons have done, and that's a real bummer that they close so soon up there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're hearing that.
Yeah. A good friend of mine is not a fan of that, and he's kind of been doing a little bit on the lines of what you guys had done with the bear trauma deal. He's been making people aware of it, and everybody that came in the tent those 6 days, we asked them about the seasons. And 90% of those people don't even know what they are. Yeah. You know, they don't know that they've been changed. They don't know that they close early. And fortunately, the DNR was just up the hill. So he was sending guys up there to talk to them and see if they can get something in the works to change it in the future. But seems like there's lots of birds. I know Canada switched things up there. You have to draw a tag up in Manitoba now. So maybe they'll never come down because nobody's shooting at them. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's plenty of water. I mean, there's all kinds of little puddles to hunt now, and so maybe a little trickier to get them consolidated. But I don't worry too much about that for me, because I hunt when I want, I hunt when I can, and I know that there's always opportunity. There's birds somewhere. You just got to get out and find them. And it seems like the guys that do a lot of the complaining are the ones that just never look for them.
Well, and those are I think a lot of those are also the ones that like to hunt when it's 70 degrees out. It's a little bit nice, and you can go out there and hunt early and shoot some brown ducks and be done with it, and then start deer hunting. And that makes it unfortunate for the rest of us that like to shoot mallards in November when the season is closed. I mean, opening up our season on September 21st to me is absolutely ridiculous. And then having the early goose season and a teal season in September, plus a youth waterfowl and a military waterfowl, which I'm not saying anything bad about those things, but basically you can hunt the entire month of September. Now, if you really wanted to in Minnesota, you could have 16 days for that teal season, plus whatever our early goose season is, 15 days. And then open up in October and stay open for 60 days and go right up to December. And to me, that would give everybody the most opportunity to hunt waterfowl up here. But for whatever reason, that seems like a hard concept for a lot of people to grasp. I don't get it.
Yeah, and usually the decision makers are the ones that are sitting at a desk and they're not sitting in a blind.
Right.
You know, that's that whole deal about creating something. You got to be doing it to come up with a creative mind. And those creative minds aren't the right ones. But
Well,
it's the same way down in Iowa. Usually when the birds get here, it's, you're just watching them.
end.
You can't hunt them. You can hunt lake geese here, and you'll be out hunting lake geese and mallards everywhere, and you can't do anything. But
That's just like Minnesota. And honestly, I wonder how much of it is our hunters here in Minnesota, or how much of it is being influenced by the guys down south that don't want to shoot in their late season mallards up here. And I don't know if that's actually a thought, but I could see it being part of the thought process.
yeah, well, I'm not a scientist, but last I heard from the people down south was no ducks are going down there because we leave the corn in so long up here.
Yeah.
But I've not seen a herd of mallards eating standing corn in a long time. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that carries much weight, but
Yeah.
whatever makes.
It's like you ask 10 different waterfowlers and their opinion on something, and you'll get 10 different answers from them. So I'm glad I'm not the one making the rules, even though I'm going to suggest a few rule changes, if that makes sense. But, and this year, Minnesota, our harvest is going to be really late. So it'll be interesting to see. We got water, so we'll have some ducks, but the corn is going to come off real late. So we'll see how that affects migration patterns this year. But in any case, I'm excited for it. One way or another, we'll have fun out there. Jason Bird, Heavy Hauler, I appreciate the time. And tell everybody where we can find you online and on social media and all that good stuff.
Well, heavyhauleroutdoorgear.com's got all the product on the website. There's a Facebook page for Heavy Hauler Outdoor Gear, Mayhem Decoys, and Heavy Hauler Fishing Gear. Beyond that, I think there's some Instagram stuff, but I don't know anything about it. Last time I did something, Jay Siemens pointed out the fact that there was no photos with the post, and I don't even know how the post got made. So just old school. Just go to the website. That or check your local retail store. Sportsman's Warehouse has stuff. Joe's up there in the cities has them, and Shields stores. So, and if you don't find what you're looking for at that store, tell the manager. You got to get it in there. I can't kill any ducks without the Mayhem Decoys.
There you go. Very good. Jason Bird, thanks for the time today on the show, man. Good luck with everything.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.